So there's no like
When,
warning.
I think once that little circle, we're inside the computer.
It's at 2 p.m. Yeah. Hello. So we're 2 dimes.
Yeah, baby.
We're live.
Oh yeah, we're doing it.
We said 2 o'clock. That's what you just like.
Yeah, no. So what's customary in a live scenario is just kind of chilling for a minute, seeing if anyone joins. Yeah, if people join, they'll let us know. It will pop up someplace. Oh, you know what we got to do? Let's go ahead and start recording this bad boy.
You can edit the whole thing, right?
Oh no, we won't be doing that.
Are you gonna
We're keeping it live. Keeping it raw.
I'll write it. I'll do it live. This freaking thing sucks. So once it's recorded, now people can watch it later on. Is that correct?
On Facebook, yeah, and then we're just doing an additional recording so we can put it on.
This is the worst, like 55 seconds of TV.
Hey man, you got to get things rolling somehow.
I'm just saying.
Okay, so I got the computer recording going. We got Facebook up. It says we got about 9 people checking it out.
We don't even know who it is. It's a secret.
I don't yet, and that is.
Could be anybody.
It really could be.
It could be anybody.
It could be your worst enemy.
It could be my bookie. It could be.
We got him. We know where he is.
No, it's just happening.
Questions. Okay.
We got 6 minutes.
Yeah.
We're just wasting people's time right now. I think they're just.
No, we're starting at 2.
We're down to 5. 4 people said this is ridiculous. We don't like it. Losing people.
Everybody in frame. Why don't you bring yourself on over?
Should I do that?
This is why you got to be early.
Hello, bonjour.
What do you think of the lights?
Lights are very shiny.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I might need to put some.
Let's feature the French Polynesia flag.
I feel like with this, it's a little bright. Like Stevie Wonder. Say me. Can't do that now in 2020. Can't make these jokes
That's right.
anymore. Be careful.
All right. Well, let's see. So for anybody that is sticking around with us right now, we got about 5 minutes until the first live session. Cheers, Peasants TV.
It is.
I guess that's like the unofficial. That's the working title right now. Steve Rainville, Eric Young.
What's up?
Here live in the Seven Mangoes Studios, man, and we're going to be talking about traveling.
We just double up. 10 people are watching. 12.
That's all you have to do.
Just keep
Just
talking.
start talking.
I know. What time is it now? Are we
It's
late?
almost game time, baby. It's 1:56.
That's fun.
This guy he's chomping at the bit. I got lost at where the camera is. There it is. To talk about international travel. This we'll circle back to this in the actual session, but how many countries in total have you been to in the last month, the last 4-week period? Because you go to additional countries in the process of going to a final destination.
So right now, since we were kind of reopened up, we're 4. Mm-hmm. So 4 countries, and I'm adding at least 3 from the 4 more next week. So if we go live again next week, then the episode will be basically covering what I'm going to be seeing the next few weeks. But so far, 4 since we've reopened.
I feel like you went to 4 just on this last trip to the Balkans.
There was 3 on that trip.
Okay.
And then French Polynesia was 1 country.
That is one. Okay. Gotcha.
2 different islands. So.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
Tricia, could have shaved for your big debut. Yeah, I could have shaved. 100%. My wife told me a few times. The punches of the Canadians.
The trolling starts right away. It's everyone from your hometown that's just
this is from Saskatchewan.
Oh, gotcha.
What's up, Saskatchewan?
All right. Well, they're from the motherland, regardless.
Correct.
Right.
Canadians. You can travel anywhere right now.
Is that so?
They can. The only thing is that they get quarantined when they come back to Canada.
Okay. Sucks, we're gonna be talking about all that. So, guys, just a few more minutes, just because we told everyone 2 p.m. We also told everyone, what was it, 8/27, which is not
the date. I'm gonna put that on you. I did not double check that. Oh, Matt Barronera is right there.
Matty boy.
Matty Ice.
I thought he had a couple of jobs, right?
And a couple of kids.
Yeah, both. Matty, thank you for being here, buddy. We know that you're You're busy in your profession.
Matt's busy. Hey, Matt has a job.
Exactly, a job, it's impressive nowadays.
Yes, our good friend Scott Scanlon has at least 7 jobs that we know about.
I think he's in double digits.
Is he really?
Something like that.
Good for him.
Anyway, but Matt, we appreciate you being here, buddy. Always.
If you're still here with us.
And so we're going to be talking about traveling the globe during a global pandemic.
Hey, hold on now. ¿Qué pasa, papá? We have un boricua with us, Mario Javier, a good friend of mine from UCF. UCF alumni, guy who likes to travel. We might be taking a trip together in a month and a half. Stay tuned for our next episode if we go live and people follow us. 14 people now, so
happy to have you here, Mario. Golden Knights.
Yeah, baby. Go Knights.
Go Knights.
Mario, big soccer fan too. So I football, huge football fan.
Right.
But he's a Delta freaking Florida guy. Mario flies Delta.
Are you even so much like in that camp anymore? Are you still firmly united and anti-Delta? You're on the record right now.
United still. Oh, Gaëtan? Comment ça va, Gaëtan? Ça va bien? Super, Mario. The you, I guess, or just, cheers. Gaëtan, au Québec, tout le monde, comment ça va? Je parle anglais, français. Je vais essayer de faire le plus possible en anglais, mais aussi en français. Don't start. No, I won't, Mario. Keeping this clean right now.
How much of a dad joke is it that I got coronas?
You get coronas.
For this. Like, for the most obvious reason.
I mean...
Because 2020 is brought to you by
Corona.
So this is the reason why we're doing all this.
Mark Goldstein. Mark's in the house. What's up, Mark? Mark is a proud UF alumni, so go Gators.
All right, there you go.
Playing out there.
We're just going to shout out every Florida university, I suppose.
It's good to be a Florida Gator. It's good to be. Just lost 3 probably fans over here, but go Gators.
We appreciate everyone being here. It's 2 p.m., buddy.
Let's do it.
It's officially go time.
14 people.
So for everybody that has joined us today, hopefully you are here to talk about international traveling. All right? Because we're going to be talking about how to travel during the global pandemic that we are all experiencing right now. I have just heard from so many people that are... They're just so upset about their people that traveled as a hobby. International travel was just their passion, and obviously that came to a screeching halt. There's no better example than one Steve Rainville, to really epitomize all of that. And so now here we are, almost September 2020.
Correct.
And not only has Steve himself been to a grand total of 4 countries in the last month, as an American citizen, but he's got plans to do more. And so we have been experiencing now that your trips have been going on. First of all, your international travel is typically the envy of many, right? You post pictures. Everyone always wants to do what you do, travel the world as a job, as a passion. But now even more so because people are asking the question, how are you doing this right now amidst COVID-19? And how are you doing it safely? And we're going to talk about all of that. I'm really interested in learning the X's and O's, as we've been saying, for you guys out there that are hoping to glean some information on how to potentially do this yourself. So without further ado, everybody, I'd like to introduce the international travel guru, Mr. Steve Rainville. Say hello to your people.
No, you don't. The Magic Man. Terrible joke from the movie. All right, what's up, guys? My good friend Eric Young in the house right here. We're in his beautiful recording studio right now with some memorabilia from the Beatles back there. A little background of French Polynesia, the first country I got to go to a few weeks back. And that's their flag right there. It was an amazing experience. Definitely not cheap, but much cheaper than it used to be a few years back before the pandemic. The flights are definitely cheaper right now, as well as the accommodations there, either like overwater bungalow or like just a regular room on the property. But I mean, I'm not sure who else is watching right now. Do we have?
We got Mr. Jason Jones in the house.
Whoa!
Cheers, buddy.
We can't wait to have you back. hopefully sooner rather than later on another student tour that we had with these guys. Last trip we did, the last feet travel tour that went on was basically Mr. Jones's.
How innocent
school.
we all were, right? We
No
didn't
one
know what we didn't know.
It was a great tour. Glad to have you and your son there. That was fun. The Jedi thing was cool. So yeah, a lot of people now are like wondering, hey, what's going on? Like all I hear when you Google, people think that because you have an American passport, you're doomed and you can't travel. And oh yeah, American passport, you're screwed. So here's the deal with that. From what I've been seeing the last few weeks, I got 2 of these little bad boys. I made a post last week. This is my baby, my American passport that I've loved so much for 10 years. Double book. It's much thicker than a regular passport. And I mean, it's got stamps from all over the world. It expired on the 18th of August, so a few weeks back. And, you know, the issue came down to having another passport since it takes forever right now to get passport renewed. I'm not sure what state you live in, where you live in. But if you send it in right now, it could take up to 3 to 4 months. So I kept mine just in case, and I had the luck having a Canadian passport, which is always good to have. Can get one of those, always nice. But people now are what they're saying about the having an American passport. Oh, we're doomed. We're an American passport. It's ridiculous. You know, we can't travel. Blah 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 blah. Just so you know, this little live video now. This first time we're doing this, Eric and I. We're not gonna get political. This isn't about politics or Trump or Biden or whatever it is. No, this is about travel. Or masks.
We're not here to debate those.
No, we're travel. Basically, I'm here reporting every week how it went, how I went on my travels. Kelsey Paul Williams.
KP in the house.
KP, my man.
That guy's all right.
He's okay.
That guy's all right.
I got KP here. Like a lot of people, I've suffered from like the travel issues now with COVID. My good friend Kelsey Williams had some plans on his own to basically propose to his now fiance Elizabeth Douglas, soon to be Williams, I think. And he was going to propose on this amazing trip he was going to take back in April to his motherland of Poland first, and then the proposal was going to be in Amsterdam in the Tulips Garden. So that was kind of put on the ice, and then we ended up doing KP's proposal right here in Orlando, Lou Gardens, which is still pretty cool. It is cool, too. Scott just got triggered right now.
Too many movie quotes.
So many movie quotes.
I think getting back to the passports,
yes,
it is important to note that because we're gonna get into Steve's background and whatnot, but you know, presumably a lot of the people that are here right now, you guys know Steve, and you may know that though you are an American citizen, you're from Canada,
America,
and so when people see Steve traveling and they know that he's got both these passports, hold him up, they might be thinking, well, yeah, this guy gets to go everywhere because he can just use his Canadian passport and it's like a get-out-of-jail-free card. However, we're going to be talking about how that's not the issue.
Yes.
And there's no more clear example than on both of your past 2 trips to French Polynesia and to the Balkans, there were American people traveling with him that were not born in Canada with American passports.
The main thing that people are saying now is what you see is, oh, Aaron, hey, fellas. Yeah, a while ago, America, oh, yeah. UK. I mean, I think most of my followers followers are from Dorchester and the county of Dorset.
Oh man,
worst British accent ever.
Should have been an over/under on how long it took you to break out the British accent.
The terrible French Canadian British accent. Yeah, no, we
the face palm emoji.
Yes, shame, shame. So yeah, no, to travel, basically, now people are saying American passport, you're screwed. Obviously, it's not so much about the passport you're holding, but where you reside. So when I just traveled last week, 2 weeks ago to French Polynesia, I had to use my Canadian passport because this was expired. But either way, when you get to the borders of these countries, they ask you where you live. And the issue now is about living in the United States, that you're a Canadian citizen in the States or that whichever country you're from. The problem is not so much the American passport, but what country you currently live in. And this is where they basically restrict people from going into because we live in the United States. Shane, tell us about your skincare secrets.
Wow.
Well, Shane, this is a private discussion.
It's going to have to be a separate live session. We're gonna have to do a spin-off YouTube channel though on the facial routine.
Maisie,
what's up, girl?
she was on a trip this year.
Course.
So the last trip we did was Jason Jones and from DCDS did not happen yet.
Right.
But THS back in February. All my boys and girls there, Thomas Hardy, good friends. We miss you guys.
Can't wait to have you guys back here in Orlando.
2022.
Really, the irony of it is there's no better time right now to be in Orlando because all of the parks are open and they're really, really like not a lot of people in there.
The rides you're on
there's
quickly.
like no waits. It's insane. So
yeah.
let's start to work through the list of questions that we assembled. And for everybody that is here right now, we are going to do a Q&A session. So please actually hold off on specific questions that you have for Steve until the end, but we'll open it up for a Q&A a little bit later on. Let's quickly go through some of these things. So for anybody that is going to be watching this, maybe even later on, that doesn't know who you are, can you give a brief background on well, we'll deal with that in a second. This is live, baby, in case you were wondering.
We're doing it live.
We want to know just a little bit about your background and how you got into travel, especially international travel, as a profession.
So a while ago, born in Canada. A quick synopsis of my life now in about 2 minutes.
You have 30 seconds.
Dang. So born in Canada.
Oh yeah, do it in 2 languages.
Oui, ok, en français et in English. En espagnol, je no sé. So left Canada back in 1999. Got a job at Club Med, the French resort, where I was teaching windsurfing for a while, back in the Bahamas, and then to Cuba for a while, which was really cool to be in Cuba. And then moved on to the cruise ships. Later after that, Disney Cruise Line for almost 2 years. Followed that with Celebrity Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, then on to Holland America. So for about 7-8 years, I basically worked on cruise ships traveling the world. So been everywhere. That point, I came back to the States. I got my degree from UCF, Go Knights, and got a business degree. I had a chance to become a tour director. I got a phone call from a good friend of mine who worked on cruise ships with me. This name comes from the grave. So if you're watching this and know who Derek Clark is, Derek Clark, I owe you a lot. I mean, not money-wise, but I owe you right here. Derek basically called me one day and said, Steve, we have a spot. We need a guy who speaks French, English, and Spanish that has dual citizenship that needs to lead a group of Mexicans in Quebec City. And Derek calls me and goes, we can't find anybody. I thought of you. And I never thought of being a tour director.
There's like 10 people in the world that are qualified to lead that tour.
I mean, I don't know. JP not here? Is JP here?
He actually is not here.
So then I worked for EF, which is one of the largest companies in the world.
Education first?
I got my start in the business with EF and led a bunch of tours, which led me to meeting a lot of students from India and teachers. So lots of friends back home in India. So if you're from India right now watching, what's up, guys? Apke se otike, Joni Mubarako, and then that's pretty much it. Like Sasrikal and Dhanyabad if you're here. Anyways, move on to
that all obviously wound up evolving into Feet Travel.
Correct. Feet Travel. We started Chad and I, my good friend and business partner, Mr. Dr. Chad Murray, who loves soup. So if you see Chad at some point in time, if you talk to him on social media, or if you're eating soup at any point in time,
just always think of Chad.
Yes, and the P is capitalized.
There's a huge emphasis.
Yes.
Is there an accent on the P? Maybe
it might be soup. Anyway, so that's what Feet Travel started. Traveled to India for a few years for a sales trip, and then we grew Feet Travel, which stands for Fun Educational American Tours. Mostly student travel inbound from other countries. So most of our clients were Indians coming to the United States.
Right.
We had Canadians, British from obviously Dorset. We had South Africans. If you're watching now, a few South African friends. Chad Murray just chipped in right now with Soup Doctor. I like that. That's Chad. That's Chad. Soup Doctor.
Oh my God, almost on cue. Almost like, if you can rewind about 45 seconds, Chad, then that's for you. And so very much on brand though, aside from the student travel industry, you were on this personal mission to see every single country in the world, which is 100 and...
Well, so right now, according to the UN, there's 197 countries in the world, according to the UN.
Yeah.
if
I was
you-
gonna say 70, but that's
It's very cool, but you're an American, so of course you made
Right.
a mistake. Love America, just kidding. Which, by the way, last week I was in.
viewers goes down.
I
to
know.
us.
All more Canadians.
Right.
Last week I was traveling to. That's next week's topic, but I traveled to Serbia, which was amazing, and a few of my friends, including one Scott So Angry Scoutin, told me to bring some warm clothes because Siberia and Serbia are the exact same thing. Yeah.
The American public education
Yes.
system
So,
really
but yeah,
rearing its head.
197 is what we at now total with the UN. That's who the UN thinks is involved. And if not, I think it's 250 or 251, depending on what territories you add. So, for example, French Polynesia, you're kind of adding a country. They have their own government. They have their own currency, their own flag, which is usually a sign of being autonomous, so to
Sovereign
speak.
nation, yeah.
Right. Though if there's a war army, there's still the French people, kind of come in and say, "Hey,
Gotcha.
we're in charge here still."
Gotcha.
But still, it's one country you can add is French Polynesia. Yeah.
So when you're not leading or organizing student tours, you are actively seeing the world, and that was a thing that you were doing rather effortlessly
Yes.
before coronavirus. Now, once the coronavirus shutdowns have impacted all of us, obviously that's become a bit more tricky. But basically, and I kid you not, I do not know anyone
He doesn't
that
kid.
did it sooner than Steve. As soon as there was a green light to be able to get out of the country in a way that was feasible for not like a 30-day trip, including quarantines, but basically for a somewhat normal trip out of the
Yes.
country for a vacation
Normal, yeah.
with other American travelers.
Yes.
You were doing it. And so again, that is kind of the whole purpose why we're doing this live. We want to sort of bring you through the process of how that's all going to happen. And I mean, man, if you personally are going to have interest in seeing international destinations in the near future, then please consider Steve as a major authority on the
source,
subject.
Or, I mean,
Right.
it's hard because you guys will Google anything right now. And there's different topics, different places where
Right.
the restrictions change from day to day because COVID has been an ever-changing situation in the world.
And so what you'll see on the internet nowadays is there's a lot of scattered information. There are some places where you can go where information is kind of curated and consolidated, but you're one of the only people I know that have put that information into practice.
Right, physically.
You've been on trips,
Yes.
and now you're back here to talk about it.
Yes.
Before we get into all that, you also wanted to touch briefly upon your inspiration, and you even brought a book.
I did bring a book.
Tell
Like-
us about who's the person that you are modeling this journey after. And
I
talk
mean,
about it.
grew up in Canada, French Canada. This guy is, he's famous all over the world. This is a hero of mine. He's no longer with us, but this guy has a special place in my heart. When I start traveling and seeing the world, I start watching those travel shows. And Anthony Bourdain, to me, is like a father figure without being there as a father, but just while watching him on TV. And I just really, I couldn't get enough of his first show, which came on Travel Channel called No Reservations. If you have the chance to go watch that. Anthony Bourdain, again, passed away a few years ago. And everyone said he had the best
Pour one out
life.
for our homie.
Yeah, I'm going to do a cheers to Anthony Bourdain. I should be drinking live here, but just Corona, for Anthony
Like
Bourdain.
I said, dad joke.
But so this guy, you guys know who he is. Traveled the world, and this is his book that made him famous. Actually, I got a chance to meet Anthony Bourdain a few years back, and I got the book here signed. I got a chance to ask him a few questions, talk to him, and the first question I asked him was, since you've been all over the world, I told Anthony, Anthony, listen, I know his father was French, and I said to him, if you could tell me how can you describe poutine? Which I know you got a chance to have a few times
I
in
have
Canada.
indeed. Yes, the real deal.
And very good soup. Teach us how to do the dip. I will one day, Scott. If you're lucky enough, I will do just for you the dip. So when
You can lead everyone in a educational session on the YMCA later.
oh
at the
yeah,
end
that's
of
a
the
different
segment.
song right there. Yes. And as far as Anthony Bourdain goes, and him traveling all that stuff, he was an idol. Like when you start traveling, I met him. I asked him about the poutine.
Well, yeah, get back to the what did he say about poutine?
And I told Anthony, like, can you describe it? And I'm there and I'm talking to Anthony. He's like, He goes, how can I, and excuse my English, I don't want to use foul language, but Anthony Bourdain was just free spirit. When he picked up the show with the Travel Channel, he said, I will be myself. I'm not going to change the way I talk.
Right.
He was bleeped out many more times than he should have been, but he said, I'm just going to talk the way I talk. So there was a few F-bombs. So Anthony Bourdain goes to me, well, listen, man, that's the best effing shit I've ever had in my life. He goes, I can't even describe it. He goes, basically, because it's simple. It's cheese curds, gravy, and French fries. But these three things, he goes, it's the devil's food. That's what he said to me. It's the devil's food. So that was my interaction with Anthony Bourdain about travel. Because I was thinking anything, like how's your meal in Malaysia? How was, no, I want to know about poutine because this is my background. And I need to know this chef who cooked amazing meals in New York City.
Let's just riff on some down-home poutine for a minute.
It was amazing. So that was Anthony Bourdain's, my meeting with him. And from that point on, there was a show called The Layover, and that's when my buddy Chan Murray, Chan Murai, inside joke, when we went to India a while ago for a business trip, we go to the airport in, I think it was Ahmedabad, Chad, and we had the sign from one of the employees that was greeting us. And the sign, instead of saying Chad Murray, it said Chand Murai. And that just stood.
Close enough.
It was close enough, right? But for me watching the show called The Layover, it was the second show from Anthony Bourdain where he said, when you get somewhere, you have 24 hours. How can you see that country that's sitting 24 hours? And he walked you through that. No, we love you, KP, man. Come on,
KP,
man.
yeah, come on over, dude.
Listen, make sure the power goes out. Actually, no, not right now. If the power goes out, KP's your man. All right?
If you can somehow keep the power on and make your way over from the Hunters Creek station, then you're invited.
But yeah, no, so the layover, I followed him, just where he was going, because I'm trying to tick these countries, right? And I'm seeing Anthony Bourdain going to all these places that are amazing. And from that, Anthony Bourdain was kind of like... it was not bottom up, but he basically was saturated because the Travel Channel can only take him to where these cool countries, but not countries that he's always want to go to. That's when CNN picked him up and he did what's called Parts Unknown, where, and that's what Kelsey Williams could tell you. Phenomenal show. That's his last show that he did before he passed away, and went to crazier places like Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan, Congo, and trying to show the world, hey, listen, it's okay to travel here, doing it safely, just as right now I'm trying to communicate with you guys. It's okay to travel the world during this crazy pandemic, but
very Anthony Bourdain-esque. What we are doing like
right a pioneer.
Now, especially you. You're the guy actually going there.
I would never even compare myself in the same vein. It'd be disrespectful to Anthony Bourdain. He was outspoken. He was an idol of mine, and I'm doing this because of him partly. I just respect him so much, and I would never even fathom to. I fit in his shoes, which were, I think, bare and tall, maybe a size 12. I'm 10 and a half. But my long dream has been to travel the world, to see every country, to share the passion with you guys watching now or other people. And then with you as well. A good friend of mine, Eric Young, funny story. Eric Young worked at the University of Phoenix and was kind of in between jobs. And we were driving on 408, which is a road here in Orlando, going towards I-4 near Mickey Mouse, if you're from here. And we're talking, and I'm like, we met playing hockey. And most of these guys commenting right now, all inside jokes. The Scotty Scout of the world, Kelsey, Shane, and...
Be there in 20,
right,
he says.
please.
I hope he's not joking.
It'd be great.
Yeah.
And we all met through hockey, which is another passion of myself and Eric and most of our Cougar Bay team.
Basically everyone that's watching right now.
Right. Matt, where's Unchuck? Probably sleeping. Probably selling a house. By the way, there's one guy that could do my job. He'd be Jason Unchuck if we were in a different life and he had a different personality. Then he can definitely do my job. Until then, enjoy parking cars, buddy. Kidding, I love you. If you need anything, if you were selling a home, Jason Hunchuck's a great real estate agent. Jason Hunchuck, the pug agent of the year. Just pointing out there, you're welcome, buddy.
Free plug.
But yeah, so we go, Anthony Bourdain traveling, passion to share with you guys. And again, partly why we're doing this today is privately. A lot of people have messaged me saying, Steve, can you tell us how did you get to travel again with this pandemic? Also, why don't you write a book? Why don't you do a blog? Why don't you go on YouTube? And I'm like, I'm 43. I'm not as in tune.
What in the heck is YouTube?
I'm a grown man. I'm 40.
So that's where I came in. He's like,
I own a VHS. I own an old ColecoVision. If you're over 40, you might know what that is. Like, still traditional. I have a Honda Civic that's older than my wife.
I feel like it's a miracle. We've got him. We've got him here on the internet. It's being broadcasted right now through zeros and ones.
But Eric Young, so I met Eric Young through hockey, and then I needed a tour director for a tour, and Eric was in between jobs, and I said to him, dude, your personality is so good. I mean, I feel like I'm Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you're Luke Skywalker.
That's
you're
right.
Skywalker.
Yeah.
And I really said, you need to get into this business. It's definitely something that I see with personality. And Eric's been in travel with me. He's been to India on his own, thanks to Chad Murray and Steve Rainville at Feed Travel. But yeah, we've traveled together in a bunch of places. One of the best tour directors ever. And you can ask Jason Jones if he's a good TD. He's a great TD and also a great video production kind of guy. So we're here today. Moving forward, Chad Murray, please share your thoughts about Soups of Skopje. Yes, Chad, I will.
We're getting a lot of great ideas for spin-off YouTube channels. I think that we're going to need to bring Chad in for an episode or a channel specifically on soup. Yeah. Just like bowling for, I don't know. We'll figure something out. It'll be a play off of that
100%
Michael Moore movie, but it'll be about
like
soup.
They better call Saul, better call Chad, but for soup.
Yeah. We're circling the great idea. It's not there yet, but
so we're back now to what we talked about.
We talked about some of your inspiration, your background in travel.
Yes.
People have also had questions about your very specific travel rituals. So, for instance, there is one blue shirt that you wear every single time. Is this necessary for getting out of the country in the coronavirus era, or
hey, it kind of is to me.
Tell us about this.
So if you ever see me about to take off from Orlando, that's my home airport.
In one of the vintage Cheers
that is yes.
poses.
This is the shirt that's gone me through the last 10 years of my life traveling. I only wear it before takeoff from Orlando. So every time I've worn that shirt and travel out of Orlando, my flight always magically landed somewhere else. So I'm still alive. Maybe it's the shirt. I don't know. Go Gators. But yeah, so I wear that shirt at takeoff. So if you wonder why it's always the same freaking shirt and the same stupid, silly pose, that's part of the equation right here. Now, the other part of the equation, what people usually always ask me, it's like,
window or aisle?
Always window.
It's always window.
I like window. I used to be aisle guy, then I'm like, I'm a window guy.
Anybody that's here in the chat, first, please let us know if you're a window or aisle person, because it says a lot about your personality.
I think so, yeah. 100%. Usually,
who is an aisle person? I guess that's the best. And what is the argument?
The aisle person is someone who just can't hold their pee in and has to go to the bathroom for 15 seconds. If you choose window and have to go to the bathroom every 5 minutes and bother the guy next to you, then you DTM. Get out. Pick an aisle if you're a bathroom goer. If you're a window guy, you want to see the view, then that's right. Stay in this side.
Dude, for me, it's that the window gives you like a surface to lay your head against.
That also is good. 100% agree with that. That's also
because I also can't sleep like this.
Like, I hate it. No one can.
Right. So I need an actual.
And
surface.
The weird thing, I don't know why. Even Chad would attest to that. Chad's favorite seat, by the way, is 2A. Mine is 3A. The left side. I don't know why. I don't like to lean to right. I don't know. It's weird. It's
well, that's getting a little picky. So like which side you're gonna lean to?
The shirt, 3A. That's me.
All right. So first and foremost, today's episode and the reason why we have the background of French Polynesia is because we're going to be talking about your recent excursion. And but before we do,
hold on. Yes.
Go ahead.
Cheers, peasants. So I can put the reasoning behind
Put that in context.
People I've lost friends on Facebook and social media because of Cheers, peasants.
I guess because people take it like personally, like they feel like you're really like belittling them.
I'm not. And so the story real quick goes, Chad and I are business partners. Chad flies out of South Florida, either Miami or Fort Lauderdale. I fly out of Orlando. So years ago, when we started Feed Travel, you kind of have to pick a horse and go with it. For me, United was that horse because United took me out in better places, easier, faster, versus Delta. So Chad's a Delta guy, I'm a United guy. And we always argue, like, who gets you the most upgrades? Being a 1K member for the longest time, the number one chart on United as far as like the passengers, and Chad being Diamond, we didn't know who would get the most upgrades. So we started taking the picture in first class and send it to each other and say, hey, here, like, look, I got the upgrade and you did not.
So it was really for scientific observation at first. You guys wanted to see which airline was doing it.
And teasing each other. Look, Delta sucks or United sucks.
Oh, yeah.
Picking on each other.
You were totally sticking it to each other.
Mario Macera knows about this little fight between Chad and I. Even Mario's involved with it right now. But so at some point in time, I'm on a flight, sitting next to a guy, and his nickname was Gus, but Gus Johnson. He's actually the last pilot to retire the Endeavour mission. So I'm flying from Orlando to Houston, and this guy next to me is an astronaut. He was a pilot. And we're sitting there in first class, and I'm taking my picture, and the guy goes, what are you doing? And I'm like, my business partner, I need to tell him that, I'm flying first class, and I got my drink. And he goes, can I get in on this? And I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So we do a selfie with the guy next to me, who's a random guy who's ended up being an astronaut. We took a selfie and we do a cheers. And I asked him, hey, is that picture okay to post? And, do you look okay? And he's like, yeah, I do, but the guy behind you doesn't seem really happy. So I zoom in on the picture, and that guy's face was just like...
It was the guy in the front row
in economy class.
Coach.
Yes, it was just like in my picture, like, you mother, you know what? And so the guy next to me goes...
as jovial.
No, I was happy back there. I'm just going to say... So the guy next to me goes, wow, look at that angry peasant. And I just start laughing, and I'm like, you know what? Screw it. Cheers, peasants. And that's how it started. It was a joke. It was funny. It's not to belittle people or like, I'm here. Well, maybe a little bit to stick it, But 95% of the flights that I sit in first class, either it's a free upgrade.
Yeah.
Thanks to the points guy who's been helping me out with that over the past few years, or I would use miles. So
I will tell you, there is nothing in modern society that makes you feel like you are in an upper echelon, like flying first class. So it's a mood. It's a mood.
Yes, 100%.
Cheers Peasants is a lifestyle.
Yes.
And you even had a shirt, right? You had some shirts made?
I do.
People have talked about shirts.
And we're talking about now, you and I might be going to this where we might get our old brand. But this is one of them right here. Look how pretty.
As you all are beginning to travel the globe again safely, then your Cheers Peasants merchandise, we actually need to hear from the people that are interested in this kind of idea. Are you interested in this merch? Because we're talking about it. And so if you want some Cheers Peasants gear of your own, then that's something that is in the works.
Absolutely. Yes.
So I really want to get into some very value-based content here for the people that have stuck with us and that want to learn something on how they can start to travel themselves. So I had shared a story with you that somebody had recently reported that there are now documented cases of depression that are caused by people that used to travel as a passion internationally that are no longer able to do so because of the restrictions of coronavirus. So let's launch into what are the actual tangible misconceptions about traveling as an American right now? What are the common things that people think that they can't do that they don't really know that they have the power to do? What are the first things that pop to your mind?
So most Americans now think that we can't go anywhere. Obviously, it's all on a personal basis, right? Obviously, I've been in a cage, so to speak, since March. I travel usually with my company, with student tours, or I'm in my office working, building tours. So the last 6 months, it's been, everyone's been hit. The whole planet has been hit. Every industry's been hit. But if there's one industry that's been hit harder than anybody, it's the travel industry. If you want to argue over that, just argue with me. I don't care. But there's no doubt that's the one that's been hit the most. So as far as the last few months, I've been home, just pondering, how do I get out of here? What's the next move? How can I leave this house? My wife is like, get out, leave. I love you, but you need to go. So when I was reading to see what was going to be opening up soon, and these things change every day, every week. French Polynesia was the first one that popped up, right? Island down in the South Pacific. If you guys are friends of mine, you've seen the last few weeks. We went there with Scott.
And real quick, let's just plug the website that you had mentioned that you had been consulting quite a bit, and that was traveloffpath.com.
So Travel Off Path is a source that I've been using, and it's been pretty accurate, updated. It's kind of a blog that they're keeping there.
But it's continually updated.
It seems like it. Yeah. So for me, I mean, what I usually research. I looked at the Travel Off Path, and I also look at the government's website. That's the best one you want to go to.
Yeah.
Hey, what's going on there? KRG's in the house.
And we got Nadia here. What's up, Nadia?
Nadia, always windows. See, Nadia knows.
Thank you.
See, that's why Nadia and I are friends. And if you ever go to Universal, Margaritaville, best bartender there by far.
That's Nadia?
It's Nadia.
Get out of here. All right, she's
You
local.
almost met her. We missed her last time we were there, I know.
Nadia, next time, homie.
Great bartender.
Anyway, the score is 3-0 window.
Yes.
Isle. Just
your window.
For those of you keeping track.
If not, get out. kindly leave.
So again, guys, traveloffpath.com is a website/blog that is continually updating, and it is specifically curated for Americans.
Well, it's basically
correct?
where can Americans go right now? When you Google that, you'll have a bunch of them. I've followed this one. I followed that path because it led me to where I've been the last few days. Now, that being said, that it's a good website. It's a good start. But I would highly recommend going on every single government's websites from that specific country you want to go to.
So for somebody who is a complete novice at this, when you say go to a government's website,
right?
What are even the key terms that they're searching?
The U.S. Department keeps the consulate updates of all these countries, and it will tell you the restrictions, who can go in. But even then, that changes on a daily basis.
Correct. As
I found out on my last trip that we will talk about next week.
Right.
But even the trip to French Polynesia, you can ask my good friend Scott Scowden, Charles Novell, Emily Hanna's girlfriend was there as well, and you can ask my wife Megan.
A bunch of Americans again.
Yeah, all Americans.
So if you're thinking that this is like some kind of a loophole because this guy's a Canadian,
no.
no. But no. So yeah, the good thing, or what I guess we're saying is that Travel Off Path, I kind of view it almost as a place. It's almost like
a guideline.
It's like a menu at the restaurant, right? Where you're like, ooh, this country sounds good.
Yeah.
But then you have to go and do some nitty-gritty research, and you recommend going to the United States consulate website first, and then they're going to link you to the country's
Correct.
website.
When you will click on there, it will take you to that country's website.
And then
Megan Thiem, what's up, girl?
Hey.
In the UK?
Can I travel to the UK right now, Steve?
Megan, wow! Can you? Aren't you there right now? Aren't you in the UK right now?
I know. I thought she was like pulling some.
Buy one of those free travel hats, please. I can ship them to you right now. I'll do that because I love you.
Get on.
Like a sister.
Get on it, homie.
Say to Peter Dean, sorry to the kids. They're grown up. They look great. And yes, you can travel to the UK. As an American, you can, but you'll be quarantined for 2 weeks.
And again, so that is all depending on residence, right?
Yes.
Right.
It depends where you live.
That's something that we...
even like for Canadians, like Canadians that want to travel right now, Canada and Australia are the two countries that are allowed to go into most countries around the world. The two countries have major issues. I got family in Canada to attest of that. And I got a good friend in Australia. My good friend Stuart. You know Stuart? You've heard of Stuart.
I know Stuart.
Stuart is a police officer in Melbourne, Australia. Terrible accent again. And his beautiful wife Steffi. They were in Africa with me last year. But yeah, Stuart is my go-to information for Australia. So Australians, Canadians, the two most loved countries in the world. If you ever travel the world, they backpack everywhere. And if you have one of these two passports, you can go anywhere you want to.
Yeah.
Now, that being said, these two countries are open to the most countries right now, and these two have the most restrictions. So as a Canadian citizen or resident or Australian, you're allowed to go into way more countries than the US. But when you come back to your country, Canada or Australia, you have to be quarantined for 2 weeks. If you don't, there's a fine, jail. I mean, it's rough.
Right.
So for Canadians and Australians, they can go out, but they have to quarantine in some of these countries and quarantine back when they come home. Now, the reason why we're here today is to talk about which countries I've recently visited, where I'm going next week, that you don't need a quarantine. Because I mean, as much as I have time off right now, I don't want to spend 2 weeks quarantined in a foreign country or 2 weeks when I come back home.
So then just to kind of break things down, if you are an American that feels that you can't go anywhere, the first misconception is you can. There are, according to
you can.
According to traveloffpath.com, We just looked at it today.
Well,
just
no, hold on.
before going live.
Just before we go, like, so Travel Off Path is something I use like in research.
Right.
Okay, just as TripAdvisor, who I'm number one right now, ranked in Florida, and fourth in the United States. If you're counting at home.
I didn't know that you were that high nationally.
Yeah, I looked it up. I had to do some
deal.
research, but yeah,
Oh,
big
God.
deal.
You need more things to do.
Yeah, I do. Nick Newman, what's up, fellas?
Hold on, we'll get to the questions in a minute. Well, I think where you were going was Travel Off Path is nothing but a guideline.
It's a guideline.
Just a blog.
It's just like TripAdvisor. It's just like me right now telling you what I'm experiencing.
It is a person, just like all of us, that is doing their best to curate the information on which countries are open to Americans. We looked at it just before going live.
Correct.
We found over 30 countries that you can go to.
38.
38.
But changing every day. So.
And then the most important thing is a lot of people don't have the luxury of doing a quarantine on both the trip there
and coming back.
So nobody has 28 plus days of vacation to use.
I do.
But even though you do, as an example,
I would waste my
no
time.
way
What's
to spend
the point?
your time.
28 days. And your own expense. So you get there, you have to pay for your quarantine. So your hotel, 14 days, your food, it's not paid for by the government. You pay for your quarantine.
Right. So then the first thing that you need to do is take a look at those 38 countries. And if you are trying to travel for leisure, then you need to figure out which are these countries that are not going to impose a quarantine.
Which again,
and then
can change on a daily or weekly basis,
depending on what the situation is there and here.
Yep.
And so you're continually monitoring that. So on your trip to French Polynesia, how many other countries did you even have to choose from that did not have a quarantine policy? So
before I left for French Polynesia, you were saying at that point in time 3 weeks ago, how many countries could I have gone to
that did not make you quarantine? Right. Like, so you were kind of choosing, well, do I want to go to French Polynesia or do I want to go here or here?
Right.
Like,
so it was 3 weeks ago, it was 16 countries.
Okay.
Now we're at 38 3 weeks later. So it's kind of
but again, 16 countries, and it could have a quarantine or not.
No. So 3 weeks ago, only 16 countries had no restrictions.
Oh, I see.
Or some type of like a test or whatnot.
Okay.
Right now we're at 38, which you don't need a quarantine. I'm talking about quarantine only right now. I'm not talking about, I'm talking about quarantine. So 3 weeks ago, 16 options you can go to in the quarantine. Today, 38. So it's double.
Okay, so if I'm understanding correctly, on traveloffpath.com, they are telling you the countries that we can travel to without a quarantine.
Correct, because you can go basically anywhere in the world right now, but you'll be quarantined. So now we're talking solely where can you go without being quarantined for 2 weeks.
Now that's an interesting question, but aren't there most countries in Europe that there's just an out-and-out travel ban, right?
Not true. There's flights to the UK. Megan just came back from, she went home and came back after that. And as far as Americans, there are flights that go to these countries. Okay. But when you get there, it's mandatory quarantine. So once you get to the airport, they will literally take you to the hotel airport, and then you're there. Yeah. And they're monitoring you. You can't leave. And if you do, then good luck.
Right.
Liam Neeson calls you. Good luck.
And so with all of that, let's get into, if you can, run down what the process was
for French Polynesia.
Of somebody that wants to go to this glorious country that we have behind us, looking like it's not even a place that exists on Earth because it's so beautiful. But the French Polynesian Islands. So just walk us through, like from beginning to end, what were the X's and O's of getting there and having an awesome trip? Before
leaving, and again, other people now can literally attest to that.
Who's making the dad jokes now?
Oh, exactly. You can talk to Scott and Jennifer Stoughton. I like to say Schneidal, but she's married now to my good friend Scott. They were on a trip. Charles Novell, who loves the way I say his name because it's so French, and even he found a coin that said Novell on it in French Polynesia, so he knows he's French. So I can see it the way I want to. Charles, it's Charles Novell, good buddy of mine, and then Emily were there with my wife. And we basically had to take a test before we left. They don't monitor the quarantine here in the UK. Well, Megan just said they don't monitor it, so just go ahead. Don't quarantine, and if you get arrested, it's Megan Deem's fault. Tell them Megan Deem said they don't monitor it. You get there and you do whatever you want. That's right.
Cheers, peasants.
Cheers, peasants.
Advocating by the book travel.
Megan's she's in the UK on the ground. I'm not in the UK, so I'll take her word for it.
Actually, that is interesting insight.
Yeah.
You know, because it does. I mean, what you read on these, you know, consulate websites versus what is actually being imposed when you get there.
Until you get there.
That's another value in you talking about going to French Polynesia is that you were there.
When we were leaving here, so we were told we need to have a PCR test. This was a week-long conversation between myself and the other 5 people going on a trip. Mm-hmm. So the French Polynesian government required a specific type of test called the RT, Romeo Tango, PCR, Paul Charlie Romeo, and that type of test has to be carried out at least 72 hours, 3 days before you board your flight to French Polynesia.
Okay.
Now, that test is basically not the antibodies test, not that maybe if you had at some point COVID, but if you have it right now.
Okay.
Depending on what state you live in, I don't know how all the clinics work. For us here in Orlando, actually Scott and Jen and Charles had 3 tests done before they left. And that test is not fun. I'm telling you right now, this is the flag
the swab, right?
Yeah, this is the flag of French Polynesia, country number 114, by the way. And when you go to the doctors, they basically shove that up your nose, all right? And it goes on and on and on, and it goes on and on and on.
Past the eyeball?
It goes up there, and then it's up. And it's not comfortable, and they're in there, and they turn it around, and around.
Now, why did the other people you mentioned have to do it 3 times? Did they get the wrong tests
done? They were not sure, because, again, at that point in time, the regulations were changing from French Polynesia, so their website said something, and then something else was said at the airport. United said something else. So when we got to the airport in San Francisco after a layover, I walked up to the check-in counter, and this was their second flight to French Polynesia from the United States on United, which right now, by the way, Delta canceled all their flights there. Only United flies in there. I think Air Tahiti maybe comes back soon, but as of right now, United out of San Francisco 3 times a week as of the last time I checked. And when we got to the airport, they literally turned 2 families. So 10 people were denied boarding at the San Francisco airport, and we all went like, wow, crazy.
Wow.
Nadia, my girl. And we were like, oh my gosh, like what type of test do we have? So Scott had 3 tests. We had 1. We thought it was gonna be good, and we're just like sweating bullets. Like, are we gonna make that flight? Mm-hmm. They're turning people around. So at the chicken counter, they had a sheet, and on the sheet it said like exactly. There's I think 4 different tests that you can have that are like a mirrored image or a synonymous of the actual like RT, PCR. It needs to be a test that's for COVID right now, not if you had it before. So no antibodies. You'll get denied boarding.
Yeah.
So when we got there, then we went through security as usual. TSA was open. There's no one there. I mean, it was like 5 minutes through. And even for the peasants who don't have pre-check or global entry.
No, the airports are an absolute pleasure these days.
I got pictures. I'll show pictures next week. It's especially Orlando for you and I. More for you and me. Especially for you and I, like when we travel outside Orlando to go to New York or on a tour or out of the country, Orlando Airport's a mess. I mean, it's just people everywhere from all over the world. We're one of the number 1 destination in the world at some point in time last year for tourism because of Disney. No plug here, they're too expensive. But right now the airport's quiet. It's ridiculous.
It is, yeah.
It took me, we did a test on this last trip when we went to Serbia with my good friend Thomas Myers, who's in the house.
Tommy,
who's in the
baby,
house
he was.
Stephen Kunks.
The Kunks is in the building.
Stephen Kunks. You're still alive, and it's all that matters. We love you, buddy. We love you.
What's going on, big boy?
Hey, the Kunks. Talking about going through security. It's
not a problem these days.
No, we did a test. So Tommy Myers, shorts Tommy, went through the regular peasant, no TSA pre-check, nothing. I went through the clear with TSA. It's like a double, woo! And he went through faster. Tommy went faster than I did. Or same time. It was crazy. Though he had some powder in his bag, which that's why they pulled him over. But it's workout powder, Tommy. All right. Doubt it. What a clown.
Okay, so you were mentioning
Matt
that.
Barbonera, pre-check is worth every penny. I mean, if you're quick parentheses, it's $100. You get it for 5 years, and it gets you also global entry. So you apply for global entry,
And
it's
then you
$100.
get the TSA
You
free.
get TSA which
Right.
automatically for 5 years, $100. So when you travel, if you travel a lot, or even like 3 times a year, twice a year, you get to cut the line at the Orlando airport, which there's none right now. And then when you come back to the country, global entry, you basically scan your passport, eye scan, and you print a receipt and you walk through. You don't even talk to anybody. You go through. So totally worth it, Matt. Good point.
So we'll wrap up basically the process with French Polynesia, and then we have a couple of questions that we want to get to.
Yes.
And then we're going to be wrapping up probably just a few minutes before 3, and we want to thank everybody that's been here for this maiden voyage today. But so basically, you're at the part where you're at the check-in gate, right, of the flight, and they are just at that point. You're checking in at the airport, not at the gate yet.
Correct.
And they are checking to make sure that you had the right test.
They won't
conducted.
give you a boarding pass
Your
if you
boarding
don't
pass
have the right
depends on
test.
it. Okay,
you
gotcha,
can't.
gotcha.
And when you get to the boarding area and the airport, mask on the entire time. And they tell you, I know Scott's gonna say something now. You have to have your mask on like this the entire time. It has to cover your nose. If it doesn't cover your nose, they'll tell you 60,000 times.
Yeah.
Tommy and I just went, and if we were told 50 times to cover everything, if it's not covering your nose, if it's over here, it doesn't count.
Right.
I know, Scott. I'm a cheater. You have to. You really have to. If not, they even announced it multiple times.
Yeah, so the flight attendants, they're just not messing around.
No. They will tell you on the PA system, listen, look at me. I'm the captain now. They will tell you that they will alert, JetBlue will alert TSA, and then you're on a no-fly list. They say it. If you don't wear your mask properly, they can actually put you on the list, and you can't travel again.
Like the national no-fly list, or just with their airline?
On that one airline, and then you're still on the list. So
you don't want to mess with that. So
wear
the masks.
When we got to French Polynesia, after 3 days, the 4th day, you have to do a self-test. Which, to be honest, it was kind of strange because no one really. I'm not shoving that thing up my nose to my brain. I'm not gonna do that.
The self-test, though, they don't even say that. Do they say that you need to? Or?
You have to. It's required.
No. I'm saying that for people I know that have self-tested here, they've gotten kits where they just say all you have to do is swab.
So
opposed to completely gorge yourself.
So what they tell you is that there's 2 tests in French Polynesia as of like last week. You have to swab the nose, and as far as you can go without causing damages. And then the swab in the mouth, and you seal them, and then you give it to the front desk of the hotel you're staying at.
Okay.
We're at the Hilton Conrad, so the front desk took our test, and then it was on its way, and then you just wait.
So talk about so if those are the actual tangible guidelines on health and traveling.
On that country, for French Polynesia.
For French Polynesia is what we're focusing on.
Yeah.
Talk about then what was the experience of being there at the resort in this glorious destination while, amidst the backdrop of the global pandemic. Did it feel any different? Did it feel like your experience was compromised in any way?
No, when we got to Papeete, the main town, that's the biggest city, I guess you call it. It kind of looks like Nassau, the best place in the world. You kind of get there, transition to go to Moria or to Bora Bora, take a ferry. There's different ways to get there. But when we got there, no one really was wearing a mask. You're on an island. They had 0 cases when we went, and we all get tested before we get there. So when you get there, you're assuming that
everyone's good.
No one has it. And when we get to the resorts,
dare we say you might even be a little safer there?
I mean, if you look at anywhere but the United States, there are more cases. So if you leave here and you go somewhere else, like French Polynesia had 0 cases. We had like 6,000 a day in Florida at that point in time. So yeah, wherever you go, it's probably
you might be a little better off. Right.
So you're saying there's a chance.
So you didn't feel like the experience was compromised. Overall, did you feel safe?
Felt safe the entire time. The resort, the Hilton, the staff members, everywhere we went, wore masks. The guests didn't have to. It was an option.
Okay.
So like the guests that didn't feel comfortable wore a mask. If
or
you don't
someone
want to,
who's high risk, perhaps, or something.
Well, but you wouldn't be high risk when you're there because you made it there without
True. Good
you know,
point.
having it in your system. So no, I mean over there it was basically you wear one if you feel like it, and if you don't, then you don't, and you're on an island.
The
so
staff is going above and beyond.
yeah,
and
the staff
whatnot.
was amazing. The Conrad Hilton, just superb. If you see the pictures from a few weeks ago, it's just one of the most amazing places I've ever stayed in my whole life. Amazing.
So before we get into the Q&A, final thoughts.
It's the final countdown. We just lost Scott Scadden for the jam session right there. He is out.
It's a shame because we definitely nailed it. That one was pretty perfect.
Well, I think there was a few questions, not many viewers, 6 people.
No, I mean,
probably one of them.
But you know what? It's been a hot minute. We are coming up on a full hour here in this session. So Nick Newman, I thought, had a really good question. We already touched upon Megan's about is she just allowed to travel between U.S. and the U.K. and it looks like you are. And then so Mr. Newman asked, can you take the Rona test within a few days of a trip to avoid a quarantine upon arriving or departing? What do you think about that?
Well, that was exactly it. To go to French Polynesia, to enter French Polynesia, we had to take a COVID test no older than 72 hours from taking it to results. So you want what's called a rapid test. The rapid test is done in most places here in Orlando. It's either free if your insurance covers it, or it's like $30. Get a test, get the results before you leave, and as long as it's negative, obviously, before departing, then you can get in there. A lot of countries, when you arrive, which I'm going to get into next week, like the Balkan countries or places I'm going to be visiting in the next few weeks and months, do require a test on arrival or not. It depends, again, where you're going, where you're coming from. Are you transiting? Are you connecting through there? So lots of like language. Yeah. But for French Polynesia, you need a test before you get to that destination.
So I guess the best answer to the question is it depends. It depends on a lot. But I would venture to say, though, the amount of countries out there, if they are currently imposing a quarantine upon arrival, it's going to be very few and far between that would be like, oh, you got a test? No, we're going to waive your necessity of a quarantine. So
the countries that were on the list of the travel off path, like these countries, as of right now, the 38 that are on there now, don't require quarantine. As of like yesterday or whatever it was. So who knows? Ukraine was open till it was open fully until 3 days ago. Now Ukraine is completely shut down right now.
And then they just said that they added a couple. So yeah, we had shouted out that blog earlier on in the session, but again, that is traveloffpath.com.
Yeah, good.
It is not an end-all be-all authoritative source, but it is, like I said, I kind of like the analogy of being like a menu. Yeah. It's like, hey, get some ideas of where you can go, especially if you feel like you're stuck and you can't do anything.
Yeah.
But anyway, I mean, dude, we're gonna have to wrap up this first session. How do you think it went?
Any more questions?
I think that was the last one that we had here. A lot of
Chad Murray, hold on.
Chad asks, are Hilton? Hold on, let's first screen if this is a real question. Are Hilton Diamond members entitled to benefits at resorts or just hotels? I'm going to let you field that one, Steve-O, while I finish up my Corona.
Chad Murray, yes, the Diamond members are entitled to benefits at resorts at the Conrad, and you can also ask Scotty Scadden and Charles Novell, and they'll tell you that even they got to get the Diamond status. They called Charlie 3 times, Mr. Charlie, you have the Diamond status? So like everyone there with us that traveled with me on that trip had Diamond status, which was pretty cool. Upgrades. The red carpet was basically rolled out for us. And next week when we talk about the Balkans, the trip I just came back from yesterday with Tommy Myers, that was an outstanding trip. So much to cover on that one. And talking about the red carpet treatment was just out of this world.
So a couple.
Alexnakis in the house.
Hey.
You're basically the opposite of Alexnakis.
How's that?
He's
very tall.
Yeah, he's like 6'9". He's the Greek freak, the tallest man in the world, and then you're like the shortest man in the world.
Exactly. Well, Alex, nice to meet you and be a small fraction of your size. I would like to say some final thoughts. First and foremost, if we have gotten anything across, it's that this is a rather complex and ongoing situation about
100%.
Traveling during a pandemic. So somebody that you can always consider as a resource. One, Steve Rainville. This guy's traveling around the world right now. And even if you didn't get the specific thing that you wanted to get out of this session, then please feel free to message this guy. He's on Facebook. He's on, what's your Instagram handle? You are Cheers Peasants on Instagram.
It's Cheers_Peasants. Again, it's a joke and not like condescending like other people.
So reach out to this guy on social media. That's what's so cool about nowadays, is that's really all you need to do to have access to a lot more information, or somebody that can give you customized answers to your questions, your traveling ideas.
If you need help building a trip, if you need help going somewhere, I'm also going to put a trip together. I'm thinking probably October, November for Ecuador, which is open now for Americans. So if anyone interested in going to the Galapagos Islands, this is my next trip plan after the next trip next week. So October-ish, it's a good time of year to go to get the Galapagos Islands. Ecuador is open. So that will be a conversation we're going to have in episode 3 if we make it there with 8 viewers. I don't know.
Yep.
We'll see.
But I mean, dude, I think I speak for both of us when I say, traveling is awesome for the human experience. We were sad to see it go. We're happy to see it coming back. That's why we're doing what we're doing and what we did today. So we hope you guys enjoyed us. Enjoyed it.
YOLO, you only live once, guys. If you're nervous, there's any question you might have, please contact me privately. It's a beautiful world out there. It's not easy. But it's possible, and it's just, and
it can happen.
Yes.
That's the moral of today's story. Can you travel internationally right now? Yes. All right, so we'll see you guys next week. Until then, be good.
Hey.
Cheers, baby.
Cheers peasants.